This is part A of Unrequited Love. So I think the most appropriate way to start off this story is the summer before my freshman year of high school. And this is gonna seem like a random story, but it does have a point. Sorry, that was my phone, even though it is on silent. When I was, like, during that summer, my sister and my mom and I were walking in this outside mall area that we had in my town that I grew up in. And this was back when Limited 2 was a thing. And we saw that there was like this stand outside of Limited 2, and it was with Radio Disney. Basically, if you entered, you could win a chance to see the Jonas Brothers in concert in New York City. It was like ABC's ABC morning show or something like that. So you had to be 14 and under. So my sister and I entered, and on my birthday, which my birthday is in July, we got a call that my sister had won the tickets to go to the Jonas Brothers concert. And that was super exciting for me because I was obsessed with Nick Jonas. He was, well, maybe not obsessed, but I really liked Nick Jonas. I just thought he was really cute and had a really good voice, so I was super excited. So we went to New York and it was a great time. The reason why I bring up this story is I was an early teenager. I had crushes on guys before. I liked guys, like, I think the earliest time I remember liking a guy was I was either 5 or 6, where I had a crush on a guy. But this was like such a kind of just puppy love kind of thing that I felt. It wasn't very intense, and yeah, so anyways, that's the reason why I bring up that Nick Jonas story, because it just shows the contrast that I'm about to make. So going into my freshman year of high school, I wanted to sort of reinvent myself. The middle school I went to for my 8th grade year was split up. I originally went to a different middle school, but then we got redistricted, and some of the people from my middle school had to go to this new middle school. And I just felt like I didn't really like that middle school that we went to, and I was very excited to be rejoined with all of the people that I essentially grew up with. And so going to that new school, I just had a new, fresh look on my future, like, oh, high school's gonna be great. And I was just very happy-go-lucky about everything. And then the first day of school came, and everything was completely normal. I mean, I guess I instinctually do this, but I always look if there's like a cute guy in the room or something, or like if I like anybody, or just looking for friends in class and stuff. And then came to my last class of the day, and that was biology. And we actually had a substitute teacher, I think for 2 weeks, because our biology teacher, I think, just gave birth to a baby. And so we had this other lady that was our substitute. So we all kind of sat down, and I sat with people that a girl that I knew in my neighborhood, and basically the layout of the class was, the door was, if you're looking at the front of the room, the door was on the left-hand side, the board was right here, the teacher's desk was right here, and then the class was behind. And so I was sitting on this side almost directly in front of the door. And so I'm just minding my own business, and then in walks this guy. He was tall, had dark hair, skinny, not really someone that I would have thought that I would like or had a crush on in the past. I typically liked similar guys in my past, and in walks this guy that isn't really someone that I was looking for, and automatically, I don't know what it was, but I felt like I needed to know his name. And so I didn't do anything about it. I just sat there and waited for the roll. And I know, like, we had assignments, so I would kind of wait and wait to put my assignment in just to figure out what his name was, so I could see, like, if he was going up. I wanted to check what his name was because I was just not going to ask him himself. The interesting thing about that biology class was I was a freshman in college, so I was in high school, and he was a sophomore in high school. The curriculum had changed, so what used to be a sophomore class became a freshman class. And I forget which, I think it was like physical science or something was what they had their freshman year, but we were starting off with biology, so the classes were mixed between 9th and 10th grade. So anyways, I just, from that moment on, I just was, I don't know, there's just something about him that made him different than any guy I had ever seen or met before. And so, me, as a very shy person, I did not talk to him ever. I avoided talking to him. He and I had the same lunch period, and I sat in this wooden table. We sat outside, and I sat in this wooden table with a few other friends under the trees, and he sat on the other side of the courtyard on this metal table, and we faced each other. I don't think he knew that we were facing each other, but we faced each other every day. So I saw him before our class, and I would be focused on my friends, but I would also think about him as well. And in class, in our biology class, I always would kind of out of the corner of my eye look at him or realize things that he was doing. And I sound crazy actually, but whatever. I was a young teenager. But anyways, so something I knew right away was how, like, kind he was and how intelligent he was. He was very quiet as well, and he had a very soft warmth about him. People tended to like him, not like have a crush on him, but they liked him as a person. He was just very nice and sweet. But the one thing about him was, I, like many other teenage girls, when you have a crush on someone, you tell your friends about that person. So I told my friends pretty early on that I liked this guy. He was a sophomore. I thought he was really cute and really smart and just really sweet. And anytime that I would try to point him out to someone. Like, let's say I saw him in the hallway, or he was near his locker, or I don't know, outside or something. I would just point him out, and then all of a sudden he would disappear. And so my friends would be like, are you making this guy up? I don't know who he is. Like, what are you talking about? And I kind of noticed that was something about him that was very interesting. To me, I could see so much potential in him. I could see how great of a person he was, and I thought he was very handsome and all of those things. But it seemed like nobody else noticed him. Girls, it seemed like, didn't really notice him at first, and even though he was well liked, I don't think he had too many friends. And I just found that interesting, because I was like, can they not see how great he is? And so, the nickname that some of my friends came up with for him was Invisible Boy, because literally he was never to be seen. And it wasn't until months later that I actually saw him, and I pointed him out to a friend, and then they're like, oh, okay, there he is. And something to note also, at this point, I didn't have Facebook. I don't think he had Facebook, so it wasn't like I went online to show who he was on Facebook or something, or on social media. That wasn't as big of a thing as it is now. So yeah, but I just really noticed how kind he was. He would take this guy home that was kind of like his class friend. We drove golf carts in the place that I grew up, so he drove him back on a golf cart every day. And I thought that was really sweet. And just how he interacted with people in general, just very understanding. And something else that was really interesting is, I'm almost certain that my teacher knew that I liked him, especially at a certain point. He was sick or something, and we had this, what's it called? Index cards project that we had to do. It was just like maybe a homework assignment or something, where we have to write down, I think it was like definitions or something like that. And I jumped on board. I was like, yes, I will make these for him. I will give them to him. And I did mine, and I did his, and I think almost on every single one of his index cards I wrote his first and last name. And his last name is really strange, or just unique. So he doesn't have an A in his last name, but I put an A in there. So I misspelled his last name. And I remember giving it to him and then realizing that I spelled his last name wrong, and I just felt really bad after that. But I'm pretty sure my teacher knew that I liked him, because basically every group project that we would have, I was in his group. Like, it was really weird. If she didn't intentionally do that, it was just very coincidental, because we were literally always in the same group if we were in, if it was assigned groups. And like I mentioned before, I did not talk to him at all. I would see him in hallways going to class, and I would literally walk past him, like almost, I walk really fast, but I walked even faster past him because I just couldn't deal with being near him. My heart always would like speed up, and I had never felt that way before. And so anyways, so when we got into these group projects, I was kind of forced to interact with him more and more. And so more and more I started talking with him, and I even told my stepmom and my mom and like my friends, I was like, okay, this is the day I'm going to talk to him. This is the day I'm actually going to have a conversation with him. And I just couldn't do it. And so I eventually started, like I said, through the projects, talking with him more and more. And I remember there was a final project that we did. And I don't think he's watching this, but if he is, I am so sorry. Like, I probably sound so weird. But I remember we were making this thing, and I forget what it was. But basically we were using styrofoam, and I had hot glue. And obviously, like, hot glue and styrofoam don't go together. It's kind of has a very chemically smell, and it's hard to, I mean, it's just not the most healthy thing to do. But anyways, we were working on something, and the two of us were kind of working at the table, and I remember his hands like slightly touched mine, and I was just like, oh my gosh. I was so, like, that was such a big moment for me. And I often, like, I remember some of my friends at lunch would be like, oh, this is like Twilight. Again, I'm sorry, this is so embarrassing, but I would definitely try to find a reference to Twilight, the series, and that kind of dynamic, which this is all in my head. Obviously, I really did not talk to him. If he knew that if I liked him, he didn't ever tell me that, and he was probably very polite about it, but yeah, I never told him. So this was kind of before, sorry this is a little scattered, I'm trying to remember everything, but I remember on Valentine's Day, I think Valentine's Day was one of the days that I was like, okay, I'm gonna tell him how I feel, or like kind of talk to him or something. And I baked cookies for Valentine's Day, just for that class specifically. I baked chocolate chip cookies with my mom. Maybe I wasn't even with my mom, but I baked the chocolate chip cookies. I made everybody's cookies, and if you haven't tried my mom's chocolate chip cookies, why is this going off? Like, do you guys see this? It is on silent. This doesn't make any sense. Anyways, sorry. Yeah, I made chocolate chip cookies, and I planned on making his slightly bigger than everybody else's, and I did. But then when it came to Valentine's Day, he was not there. I guess he was pulled out of school or something. Maybe he was sick. So I distinctly remember handing out the chocolate chip cookies, kind of hoping that he was going to come a little bit late. And then finally, when it was pretty evident that he wasn't coming, I remember this girl like taking his chocolate chip cookie, and I'm just like, that's not for you. That's not for you. But anyways, that's just a silly example of something. But then we move on to the slightly sad part. Towards the end of the year, I really started talking to him, and I felt like we would actually have pretty good conversations, especially for me at that time, because I was just not good at making conversations with him. But anyways, it was the last day of school, I believe, and he told the class that he was moving. And where he was moving was only a state away, but when you're in high school, early high school, you can't drive. It's like, I knew that I was not gonna see him. And if I did, it would be a very rare occurrence. And I just felt really sad, because I was going to, again, try to tell him how I felt. But he was moving. So flash forward to my sophomore year of high school, the first day of school. I go into school thinking, well, first of all, my papa died like right before the first day of school, so I was still in a grieving mode. And actually, he was the first person that I told that, and I think it was like April or May, I told that guy that I felt like my papa was going to die soon. And that was the first time. He did have cancer, but that was the first time I actually verbalized that I felt like he was gonna die. And so he did eventually die that August. And so I was just really not in a good place. And so my first day of school, I'm just minding my own business again. And then I see him. I was in the cafeteria and I saw him and I was like, what? I thought he moved. Turns out either they didn't sell their house or whatever it was, but he didn't move. And so my mission was on again to tell him how I felt. And I planned for the 1st of December. That was the day that I was going to tell him. And this time I was really going to do it. And then Thanksgiving break came. And while we were on Thanksgiving break, I think I was in Florida, I found out from my mom that he had moved. I think it was from my mom, maybe it was someone else. And I was devastated. I felt like I was given a second chance and I didn't take it. So he moved away, and then in the middle of that year, or I guess it was in January, I found out that he had a Facebook. So I created a Facebook. Again, I'm sorry, this is very strange. I literally created a Facebook because of him. But I got a Facebook even though I wasn't allowed. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep in touch with him and this is going to work out some way. And I was just very delusional. So flash forward to the summer between my junior and senior year of high school. This was like the moment he was graduating from high school, or he had just graduated from high school, and he was going off to college. So it's like, I really don't have anything to lose. Also, he is a state away, so it's not like he's within driving distance of me, or like close driving distance. So there was just really nothing to lose. So I wrote him a letter on Facebook, basically telling him how I felt. And after that, he was very sweet about it, and actually we did talk on Skype. We actually also video Skyped as well. I don't think it was that summer, but we ended up, but we would talk sometimes, and he was just very nice and stuff, and I got to know him more. And then he went off to college, and I eventually went off to college, and I still kept in touch with him. And actually, like, I felt like I couldn't, and this sounds again really weird, but I felt like I couldn't really date guys, because I was like, well, one day it's going to happen. Like, one day I'm going to end up with this guy. And again, delusional, very delusional, but that's how I felt. And then I found out that my mom was moving to the same state that he was moving to, and I would still be a little ways away, but still in close distance to him. And this was after my sophomore year of college. And I was like, I remember messaging him saying, hey, my mom is moving to the same state you are. would you like to meet up for coffee one time, or like over the summer? And he just never responded to that message. And then a week later, he was in a relationship, and I think that was his first relationship that he was in. And that just devastated me. I felt, again, we weren't dating. It is actually pretty ridiculous that I would feel so strongly about it, but it was devastating, and I felt like he could have at least told me that he didn't like me. And even to this day, he has never said, no, I don't like you, or just move on. But obviously, I get the hint, I understand. And so, yeah, life went on, and he still has a place in my heart, but I don't like him, I mean, in that way anymore. And we have both changed a lot. Basically everything that I saw when we were younger, like saw him becoming, he became. He was really into techno and video games, and he has become a pretty awesome person in his own respect. I think he's doing well. I don't really know, I don't really talk to him. We are friends with each other on Facebook, but I don't speak with him, or just very rarely. But yeah, so that's that. I mean, there is obviously a lot more to the story, but that's all I can really think about off the top of my head right now. So yeah, that was part A, Invisible Boy. I hope you guys are having a great day, and again, if you are watching this, you know who you are. Or if you are watching this and you know him, because I think anybody that knows me knows who this person is, or like anybody that was with me at that time, they know who this is. Please don't message him, like bombarding him with things. Like, again, I think he's a great person, and he's doing his own thing, but we're very different people, and I don't know. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in my next video.